So what are anxiety and depression? How can we overcome these ourselves? How can we put in the groundwork and the foundations to make sure that once we get over those biggest hurdles of overcoming anxiety and depression, we don't go back and we don't revert back to where we were? Welcome if you are new here. My name is Hetty, and on this channel we discuss all things positive, high vibe, and how to use the law of attraction to manifest the life of your dreams. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any more wonderful content like this. Now, I will apologise, I feel like I'm literally living in this hoodie at the moment. I've packed all my clothes away and I literally just have a very limited amount of clothes to wear, and it's lockdown, so come on, let's be honest. I'm literally just wearing the same clothes for most of the week. Why not? I can't be bothered doing the washing. Who can when we're not actually going out and seeing anyone? Yeah, that was a little bit of a sidetrack, but I wanted to do today's video because I have struggled both with anxiety and depression in the past, and I wanted to share with you my tips, the biggest thing that I have learned that has actually helped me to overcome the biggest hurdles I have with my anxiety and depression, to make sure that I haven't gone right back to where I was, to my lowest points again, and to help me when I'm feeling those times where I'm feeling a little bit anxious, or I'm feeling like I'm about to maybe slump back into a bit of a depression or an anxious cycle. How do I actually get myself out of that? This one thing that I have learned over the past year has helped me tremendously with that, and has helped me to really get out of this cycle. I used to have a cycle of very much I'd be up and down, so I'd be pretty high and happy and quite positive and everything would be fun, and then I'd just have a slump of mood where I'd either be really depressed, I couldn't be bothered doing anything, I wouldn't want to go anywhere, I couldn't be bothered with anyone, or I'd have really bad anxiety and really bad panic attacks, and it just seemed to be a bit of a cycle. And I got to a point where I was just so sick of it and so frustrated of it. I was so down about it because I just thought, this seems like a never-ending cycle. I seem like I get better and then I just go back into it, and I just at that point was really worried and anxious and depressed that that would happen to me for the rest of my life. But learning this one thing, I realized that I don't have to do that. I haven't had a really depressive episode or been really anxious for the whole year, the whole past year, to be honest. I do have times where, you know, you get a little bit down, especially with everything going on at the moment. Do get a little bit anxious at some points, but it only lasts for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm able to snap myself out of it very quickly. Now, this is also a great thing to learn, especially if you haven't particularly suffered with depression or anxiety in the past. When there is times like there is at the moment that are very uncertain, you might be feeling a little bit more worry or uncertainty about the future, and a little bit of depression or feeling down that things aren't as they were and we're a bit stuck in, you know, there's still restrictions going on at the moment. So even if you haven't been diagnosed with depression or anxiety, or you know, you don't feel super anxious or super depressed, this video is still for you. You can still take these tips on board to implement in your everyday life, or share them with family and friends, help people that are going through a little bit of rough time. And this is just a great life tip, to be honest, in general, regardless of how you feel on a daily basis. So what exactly is anxiety, first and foremost? So anxiety is more than just a worry. It's more than just that little bit of a niggling feeling that something might happen or that you're concerned about something. It is usually a total full-blown, out of proportion worry of something that might happen in the future. So it could be that you're going to a party and you start to think, okay, I'm a little bit worried that, you know, maybe I won't really get on with people, or maybe people will be judging me a little bit. And we all have those different worries, especially social anxiety is quite a common one. But anxiety takes it to a whole nother level where you are literally having physical symptoms of stressing out, like you're perspirating more, your heart's beating faster, you can't concentrate and focus on one thing because that is all you're thinking about. You are just thinking about that event, that thing that is going to happen, and and that people are really going to judge you, they're going to hate you, and you blow the whole thing out of proportion. So anxiety, as we could classify it as a whole, is the worry of something in the future. So it is you thinking too much about an event that is in the future that hasn't happened yet. You are worrying and projecting these limiting beliefs that are coming up, and they are projecting onto the future. So anxiety is very much focused on future events. Now depression is very much focused on past events and bringing the past with us throughout our lives and continuing to carry and hold on to the past. So depression is obviously where we're feeling very low, we're feeling very lethargic, we don't necessarily want to do much, and there is different forms of depression. I wasn't always extremely lethargic when I was depressed, but can manifest itself in that way. But just basically having no joy in the everyday, that is the biggest part of understanding depression. People can still look like they're functioning, pretty normally, but they just don't have that joy and that wanting to participate in that. They might do it, they might go out and socialize with friends, but they're not really there with it and they're not enjoying it. So the best way to actually overcome and combat both anxiety and depression in one foul swoop is to focus on the now, to focus only on the present moment, and to really take yourself right into this exact minute, to not have that anxiety and think about anything in the future, whether the future you can class it as the next few minutes, the next hours, days, months, years, and depression, to not allow that past to however long the past. We're always continuously overcoming living in the past, because the past is every moment that has just passed us. So that could be an hour ago, a year ago, a few years ago, whatever it is. So to go into the now and to solely focus on this very minute is the best way to combat anxiety and depression at the same time, because anxiety and depression can often be seen as very different ends of the spectrum. Anxiety can be very fast-paced, can't focus, just sort of crazy, and you're feeling like, oh, everything's just going to blah, blah, and that's how you feel when you have anxiety and your mind doesn't stop racing. Depression seems to be at the other end of the scale, physiologically anyway, where we feel very down and we can't be bothered and we don't have the energy and there's no joy. So they can seem very opposing on the different ends of the spectrum, but by focusing on the now, we actually combat both at once. And by practicing and continuing to live in this very moment, that is what will help you overcome anxiety and depression. The now is all we ever have. We never actually have the past or the future. If we want to get a little bit esoteric, neither of those actually exist, because the only thing that is ever existing is what we are currently living right now. Any projections of ourselves on into the future never actually happen in the future. They always then happen in your now, and anything you're thinking about the past have never happened in the past, they happen in your past now, if that makes sense to you. So the past and the future don't actually exist, and when we get our heads around that and when we understand and accept that, then we accept more that we are able to live in the now and to fully go into the present moment. Like I said, it is all we ever have, it's all we actually have here to work with, the present moment. So how do we actually do that? How do we go about living in the present moment? Because it would be very easy me just saying, look, forget about your anxiety and depression, just focus on the present moment, don't worry about it. And you're like, okay, I'm here in the moment, but I'm still having these racing thoughts, or I'm still having these depressive thoughts, I'm still feeling this way. How do I actually go about living in the now? So what I like to do is to ask myself these two questions. When I find that my mind is either focusing on a future event a bit too much or a past event a bit too much, I like to stop myself for a moment, whatever I'm doing, and I genuinely do this wherever I am. I stop myself, whatever I'm doing, and I just say, whoa, brain, hold on there. I know what you're doing. You're trying to pull me into the past or the future, and we're not going back there, we're focusing on the now. So I like to ask myself, how do I feel in this exact moment? What's my feeling right now? Am I feeling happy, scared, sad, tired, anxious, worried, joyful, excited? What is my actual feeling? And I try and pinpoint that feeling as to what I'm feeling in that moment. Now, then I like to ask myself, okay, well, if I feel that way, what thoughts have I just been having that have been influencing that feeling? Because the only thoughts that we ever have are because of our feelings. Our thoughts are categorized in our brains by our feelings, so we can only access the thoughts that we are feeling, if that makes sense. If you're feeling happy, you only have in that moment access to happy thoughts. If you're feeling sad, you only have in that moment access to sad thoughts. So when you first identify how you're feeling, you can then understand exactly what thoughts you've been having and why you've been having those thoughts. So once we've asked ourselves how we are feeling, if we have identified especially an anxious feeling or a depressed feeling, then we can ask ourselves the question of, what have I just been thinking about? So if you've been having an anxious feeling, then you ask yourself this question, well, what have I just been thinking about? And it will most likely, well, 100% of the time, it will be some kind of future made up, exaggerated, overanalyzed event that you have just been thinking about. And you can pull yourself back from that and say, okay, well, what I'm going to do is that is not going to happen right now. I'm in this moment right now. That is a future event. I'm taking my attention off it. I can look at it at another day. If you can't, if you feel like you do need to go to that and have a think about it, that's fine. But you can say, right now I'm feeling anxious, and that means that it's not the right thing for me to be thinking about right now. So I'm going to take myself back to this present moment and stop thinking about that future event. You can either distract yourself with something else, you can talk to someone about something else, watch something, listen to some music that will elevate your emotions and your feelings to a more higher vibrational level, like joy, peace, love, happiness, or even neutrality. So focus on something that is of a feeling other than anxiety and stop thinking about the future. Now, if you're having a depressive kind of feeling, very low, sad, lethargic feeling, then ask yourself again, what thought have I just been having? And it will most likely be an event that has happened in the past, or a depressive feeling about a past event continuing into your now and your future. Say, okay, that is done. I cannot change that. There is nothing I can do to change any past moment, but what I can do to change my future and to stop focusing on the past is to focus on the now, because that is all I actually have. By holding ourselves responsible for the thoughts that we are having, and by allowing us to check our own thoughts and say, well, I'm feeling particularly anxious, maybe I've been thinking about that thing in the future too much. I'm feeling particularly depressed, maybe I've been thinking about that thing in the past too much. We start to check and regulate our emotions and our thoughts a lot more. So this took me a couple of months to kind of really get the hold of, but it can take sooner than that. I was just learning this process on my own, but now you actually know the tools of how to do it. You can implement that a lot quicker. But just allow yourself to be very sensitive to the emotions that you're feeling. So when you're feeling anxious or depressed, allow yourself to recognize that as quickly as possible, and the more you do it, the quicker and more sensitive you'll be at recognizing these emotions. And then say, well, what thoughts have I been having? I'm going to stop thinking about that. I'm going to focus my energy on this very here moment. And if you find it particularly difficult to focus on the now moment, I suggest that you take a deep breath from whatever you're thinking about, you look around you and you list, I go by all of the senses, so you can list 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can smell, sometimes it's not 5 things you can smell, 5 things you can touch, taste, hear. Take you very much into the now moment. Ask yourself, what is going on at this very moment? What am I doing right now? If you really need to go that granular into it, say, what am I doing right now? I am sat on a chair. I am filming and recording a video. I can see the wall. I can see a very bare room behind me. It's getting barer by the day. I can see myself wearing the same hoodie I have been wearing for weeks. I can see my unwashed hair that needs to be washed. I can feel the paper that is on my desk. I can feel the scrunchie that is on my desk, and take yourself very much into that moment. And do this process. Do it. I challenge you to do it right now while you're sat here watching this video. I'll give you a moment to sit back and take yourself into this very moment, and to not focus on all the other external things going on. Just focus on what is happening right now. So I'm going to give you a moment to do that. So now we are all back into the present moment, and we are all feeling, very much in the now. You will start to feel, you'll see the effects that you're already feeling a lot calmer, because you have realized there's nothing else I need to put my attention on in the future or in the past. Now, with all of this, again, I'm not saying that you can never think about any past event again, and you can never think about any future event. There's exciting events that we know are coming in the future, and there's exciting and pleasant memories that have happened in the past. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have found it useful, then let me know. Give me a like, it helps support and grow our channel here. And until next time, keep spreading the positive vibes and love, and I will see you soon. Mwah!